again from the garden. So in this video, I wanted to do just sort of a mini cut flower garden tour. A lot of the flowers in the garden have changed quite a bit since I posted my last cut flower garden tour a couple weeks ago, and I've done a few changes to the garden as well since then. So in this video, I wanted to just give you some updates and show you how things have changed. And then I also wanted to show you my cottage garden area that I have been working on because it is really starting to take shape as well. But first, let me show you a few of the changes around the garden and how much everything has grown in the last couple weeks. Okay, so the first area that I want to share with you is my Snapdragon patch. These Snapdragons have put on so much growth in the last couple weeks, and as you can see, some of them are actually starting to show color already. So I am so excited about this. Now you'll also notice the floral netting that is over those. If you watched last week's video, you'll see that I put the floral netting all the way around on these beds and then also on another bed. And this helps as the Snapdragons grow up tall to keep them all straight. But a lot of the varieties all around the greenhouse are starting to get really nice buds on them already. These here are probably the furthest along and the only ones showing color, and so I think it'll be just a matter of days before these are ready to harvest, and then hopefully in the next week or two I will have a lot to harvest. So then the next bed that has changed a lot is actually right across the path from my Snapdragon patch. And this is kind of my Miscellaneous patch. It's the one where I planted all of the plants that I just started a few seedlings of. Mostly because I wanted to test them out and see if I really liked growing them. So in front here I have some Rudbeckia, I have some lime colored marigolds, I have some Orlea, which I harvested some Orlea this last week to put it in a vase to test the vase life. I have some straw flowers, which these have put on a few inches in height just since I put the netting out. And then the big change is you'll notice that I have daisies flowering. So I have daisies in this patch and then also in my cottage garden area. I've started harvesting a few already. So then just behind me in this raised bed, just next to the bed that I was just showing you, is where all my sunflowers are going. And since my last garden tour video, I have planted my third round of sunflower plantings. And then my hollyhock plants, they are starting to bloom. I am so excited. They are a blush pink, kind of peachy color. They're going to be just beautiful, and they are completely loaded with buds. Okay, so let's hop on over to the other path. I want to show you where my zinnias are all planted because they're coming up really well too. Okay, so I apologize for the lighting in this spot, but this is where I have all of my zinnias planted, and they are really starting to put on some good growth too. So in here I have about 15 to 20 different varieties of zinnias planted. They're all spaced about 9 inches apart, and I would say the largest ones are about 2 to 3 inches tall. So not ready to pinch yet, but they're starting to really grow good. And then next to the zinnias, I ended up planting some more sunflowers here on the end. My zinnias in this space were not coming up, and I think it's because there was bark mixed in over the dirt. So I have since then raked away all the bark and put it back in the pathway, and then planted some shorter varieties of sunflowers that will still work good for bouquets. And then on the other side of the zinnias, because this area is shaded a lot of the day, I ended up popping in some perennial yarrow. So I already have some yarrow that is coming up really well that is a cream color. But I picked up some yarrow plants at a local garden center that were a mixed variety and the moonshine yellow variety. Now this bed gets really warm sun, well, right now as you can see at the end of the day, but it also gets really warm sun in the morning. But a lot of the afternoon it is shaded, and yarrow can take shade. And the other item that I ordered online just actually last night, with some astilbe. I ordered about 4 varieties of astilbe, and that's going to go right next to the wall of this bed because those grow really great in shade. If you're not familiar, it's a really feathery flower, and so I think that'll put in some really good interest for my bouquets. Now obviously I'm not going to get flowers on those this season, but that's okay because those perennials are an investment and those will go year to year, and so I should have some blooms next year. Okay, the last bed that I want to show you in this garden area is my dahlia bed. Okay, so here's a look at my dahlia patch so far. I planted this in a video about 3 weeks ago, and now this is only half of the patch because the other end of the bed is where the pergola is getting finished. But in this space I have 18 dahlia plants, and a lot of them are starting to come up out of the ground now. They just started in the last few days. And honestly, I think some of them have shot up about 3 inches within a couple days. So now that they're showing some really good green growth, I've started watering them in pretty thoroughly in the mornings. And then once they get about 8 to 10 inches tall, I'll pinch them in the center to encourage more branching. Okay, so the last area that I want to show you is my cottage garden area. This is on the outside of the fence from the rest of my garden, and I've been working on this since last fall. It is mostly all perennials, a lot of pollinator plants, and I want this to be just a thick, lush, colorful, bright area. Okay, so I'll just move kind of north to south through this flower bed. This is on the east side of my fence. Total space is about 30 feet wide and probably 15 to 20 feet deep depending on the area. In front here I have some perennial pincushion flowers. There's a ruby red hydrangea that I planted this spring. It had a little bit of planting shock to begin with, but it seems to be bouncing back right now. I have some yellow Shasta daisies. There are a lot of echinacea in this area. There's a cantaloupe echinacea. There's a bright yellow echinacea. Some new ones that I just planted here are some white ones. Along the fence line, I have some branching sunflowers planted that should get about 7 to 8 feet tall. Next to that is a couple more yarrow plants. Both of these are white. And then also along the fence line here, I have some cosmos that I direct seeded. Then next to the edge of the bed, I have some white salvia. These are absolutely covered with pollinators in the morning. And then in front, I just plugged in some Supertunia vistas. These are right in front of some grape gumball monarda. Then I have one Russian sage, and next to that is some more yellow echinacea. And then over here in the corner is probably my favorite spot. All of these daisy plants were transplanted from the inside of my garden earlier this spring. They're all about ready to flush out blooms, and then mixed in with those are some more echinacea, some black-eyed Susan, and of course some hollyhocks. And then next to that whole area, I have some smaller plants that just went in this spring. These are dahlias from seed. There's some amaranth, and then along the fence to the back are some more hollyhock seedlings that will be peach and lavender in color. And then in the corner of the fenced-in area is one more little patch of cosmos. This area has already filled in so much this year, and each year the plants should just get bigger and bigger, and as I plug in more in some spaces, I would say in a couple years it should be completely full. Okay, so that's it for this video. Next week, hopefully the pergola project is finally completed, so there will be a video on that. And then I should be starting to harvest some cut flowers for my market bouquets. So stay tuned for a lot of that this summer, and please subscribe to my channel. We'll see you soon.